to be completed. Also, you should know that there is a 10 calendar day appeal period starting once a decision is filed with the town clerk. Any person aggrieved by our decision tonight can appeal to the Regional Commission of the Old Kings Highway. Our office administrator will be happy to answer any questions you have with regard to that process. So we thank you in advance for your cooperation. We'll begin with the continued item. I think we should be taking it off of the table.
Move to untable.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If I might, the new item is the demolition. So I think that, whereas the second item is for the rebuild, so would you want to review item D004 first?
Well, we continued.
Because we usually do continued items at the end. Because this is the same location, and it has a partial demolition, and it has rebuild to it.
Okay, so
So-
there are two.
Yeah, I don't want to, I don't mean
Okay.
to confuse anybody, but
Right, so we'll continue, we'll.
So I withdraw the motion.
All right. So we'll work on this item, which is a removal of a 20 by 20 rear section of the house and decks to make way for a new addition.
Is it who are the, can you sit at the table? Oh,
So what we're talking about is, this is the addition.
That's the existing addition that's being removed, right?
This is the addition and this is the deck.
so this is for,
can you just state your names for the record?
I'm sorry,
please?
Troy Walls, Walls Construction, and Linda Bunn of B+B Architects.
And what's your name?
My name's Linda Bian of B+B Architects.
How do you spell your last name?
It's tricky. B-Y-U-N rhymes with sun, Bian.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
and are there any abutters here?
This speaks to the 20 by 20 section, but I thought that part of what's called the existing dwelling was also being demolished.
The existing house has a 20 by 20 addition brought off the back of it,
Right,
and we're gonna, it's in bad shape, so we're gonna remove that and then put a new addition that'll go clear across the back of the house. It's not in good enough shape to use that as part of the new work.
So is it everything in red that is on here is coming off on the dwelling map?
Mind if I-
Yeah, sure.
And you can use this drawing as well, if you'd like.
yeah, the two
Yeah.
decks,
Exactly.
this little,
That's all being removed.
Okay,
the walkway too,
And it's not labeled, but that's an addition there.
okay.
yeah. But
And it's this section with the, this is being removed?
Yes.
the so-called existing dwelling is not being touched.
Not the main house, no.
Do the abutters wish to address us?
Yes.
Would you stand at the podium?
Blocking them.
Hello, Jeffrey Antoine, 74 Cranberry Lane. I just have a couple questions, that's all. One would be the overview and privacy of our backyard, and lighting, which we've discussed lighting with Art before, and he's been very cooperative about lighting. It's very bright at times, and it kind of is very intrusive on our backyard and our home. So with that being said, it's just the privacy aspect of it, the vegetation between the two homes, and lighting. That's it. It's a beautiful addition. What else can I tell you? So,
Good.
is that
Thank
all?
you. Yep,
Okay, thank you.
gotcha. funny, the house seems to be built on a knob.
It is.
It's like
It
a
is.
mini hill there.
The whole area is like that. It's got hills on either side of the road. And when they put that addition on, they had to build it up so it would stay in place, and that's why it's trying to fall off the back of the house.
Yeah. There also are a lot of trees there. I was out there this morning around 8 o'clock, and it would seem there's have to be a lot of trees taken down.
Not really. There's none on the back of the house that are required to come down. And on the side of the house, there's a deck, pretty much exactly where the addition's going. So when they dig the new foundation, they will be moving farther to the right,
Yeah,
but there's no major trees, no large trees there. And as far as the Antoines, we'll do whatever it takes to, we'll use landscaping and make sure that the backyard they get all the privacy they need.
okay,
Make a motion to accept the demolition as submitted?
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, everyone sign? Oh, yeah.
Yep, I forgot. Okay. So the next item then is the one that was continued.
Move to untable.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And this is a 20 by 30 addition off the right side of the house with a two-car garage and living space above. And also, there's a 20 by 43 addition at the rear of the house. Will the doors be, the garage doors, will that be changed on the existing house too?
Yes,
So they all match?
so that they'd all match, yes.
And it looks like the proposed addition will be about 6 feet closer to the neighboring property. Is that right? So we're
Well-
going, I'm sorry, 4.6.
On the additions on the garage side?
On the part that's replacing the back deck that is connected to the wood walkway.
The rear section is going straight back off the main house. On the left side, it comes in 4 feet.
Right,
I see.
yeah. Down at, you know, where your hand is, it gets quite a bit closer. No, where the two-car garage is,
That addition, yeah, we're 30 feet away. Now, we brought it to 19 feet so that we conform to setbacks. So we're 11 feet off. Actually, that's not true. How far off are we, Linda?
So,
21?
20 foot, 20.3 feet,
Mm-hmm.
respecting the side yard setback. And the width of the garage is now constrained to 19 feet.
Right, currently, the deck is 24.6 feet.
Yes,
Away.
yes.
Okay.
yeah, but it doesn't show up very much because it's on the ground level.
Yeah. Do the abutters have any comments on the proposed addition?
Can I tip this towards you to see? Which side are you on?
We're on the right side.
Jeff, you'll be looking on that drawing, you'll be looking right at the lower drawing there.
Right, and this will be facing the house as well?
Yes,
Correct, yeah, that's new, so this is existing to here.
And how far away is this from the house, Gordon?
20, well, just over 20 to meet setbacks.
And so the addition that comes off
No,
behind
from
the
the
house.
Jeff, from the house?
Behind that.
No, it's 20 from the line.
And it
20 from
doesn't
the
go
line.
beyond that.
No,
Because
it's
we
actually,
can't
it's
see
well
it.
short of that, I'll show you. Here's the existing master bedroom. This addition stops, well short of that. So this wall here would be roughly here. That's in from the side.
Let's see if we can keep a lot of trees and shrubbery. That's all you can ask for.
What's the height of the ceiling in the new section?
The interior?
Yes.
That
It's
var-
confu-
that varies.
I assume in the old section, the existing house is like 7.6 or 7.2. Okay, so it's,
So we're vaulting that to
Right. So there's
bring
a
the ceiling height up on the inside. We're vaulting that ceiling so it'll go right up to a cathedral.
okay. In the old section.
The old section will remain at 7'2". This will be opened up to a new, completely, this will be a clear span space, and it'll vault from probably 11 feet up to about 14 feet with an internal ceiling, an internal sort of a coffered. Am I getting too close to something?
Is the microphone?
On the podium.
Point that further away from you, Linda.
Thank you. Speaking into it. In this portion of the building, the ridge runs this way, and these ceilings will be lower, but the master bedroom will be vaulted up to the underside of the rafters,
Starting on the sides at 8 foot?
starting, yes, probably 7'6" on the sides.
Because the overall height of the building is quite high and really stands out. And it gets involved with the height of the ceilings to begin with as you
Right.
go. And
Are you asking, is that why we went with that roof pitch?
yeah, clearly, you know, these plans came to the office weeks ago, and we looked at them at that time and said that the roof line is very high, and could you do something about it? And nothing was done. If anything, it just more clearly looks high.
May I interject here? We appreciate the feedback that you gave us, and I did bring a separate set of drawings that reflect the concerns you had with your preliminary feedback. May I show you those?
They can end up here, though. This is the final set I have here.
She wants to show them to you so you can see how it looks with the lower roof pitch. It doesn't,
The comparison?
for a comparison.
Oh, yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I thought having them side by side might be beneficial to the conversation. So it made sense to us, the kinds of suggestions that you made when you are adding on to, since this is not your traditional Cape vocabulary that we're all used to working with, and we're working with a 1970s ranch-style building. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So the question is, how do you add to it? And the constraints of the side yard setback kept it at 19 feet. The owner's desire to have a garage with a living space over top indicated a 2-story massing. And so that sets the basic proportion of that mass. So your suggestions made sense to us in the sense that, okay, let's try to work in the same family as what already exists. It's tricky to do 1970s ranch on this proportion because of the width. You can see the width here gives you a certain roof pitch. When you match that ridge height up to the new massing, it evokes a different building type. Whereas here, and in both cases, the building is set probably 35 feet back from the main house, so it's secondary to the read of the existing building. But even though they read secondary, this form, we felt with a higher ridge height, could reference a barn-type feel. In New England vernacular, the barn is often set way back from the main house. Here, it felt, so the question is, if you can't design in exactly the same family as 1970s ranch, what is going to be most compatible for an addition? And so this made sense to try because the head heights, provide you a visual datum line. The, carrying across the ridge height would seem to relate. But once it's drawn up, I'm not sure that these proportions are as compatible to the main house as proportions on this design, even though the ridge is high.
What's driving it, though, is area ceiling height.
Not necessarily.
Not-
To
Blue
be-
section and in the other one across the back.
Right. The sloping roof across the back defines itself. We came down from this main ridge height a couple of feet and used I-joists down to a wall which allowed a certain window height that the owners were looking for. But all of that is hidden behind the house from the street. Here, it wasn't the inside driving it so much as the proportions of this front elevation.
We feel like the pitch with a higher ridge, it definitely shows the ridge higher, but it's got a more ridge in keeping with your guidelines or boundaries are. And if you look at it on the right, that's showing about a 5 pitch, and I don't think that looks good at all.
No. I agree. I think aesthetically,
The ridge is going to be,
Originals.
the ridge heights are off a little over 3 feet,
Yeah.
which is substantial, but when you bring the other ridge down,
It changes the
it takes away a
proportions
lot, I
of the
think. It
elevation.
really does.
But we take to heart your comments about the head heights of the existing house being carried across, and they do here, and they turn the corner, and they carry across on these elevations as well. In response to the owner's desire to have bigger windows, more natural light, we kept that down in line, but then added transoms on top. So that the relationship is still there, but there's additional light on top. Your suggestion had also been, and I did try it, to replicate these windows over here. Again, the width was too great for the proportion of that elevation. So
It's again driven by the height of the ceiling.
So these windows match these windows in width. Truly, it wasn't driven by the height of the.
It's a factor, but it wasn't the only factor.
Yeah. It
I
was-
design houses, I've been doing it for 50 years.
Yeah. For sure, but you know, the owner, I don't believe, and you can speak for it, that this height ceiling on an interior is perfectly acceptable. It's higher than their 7.2 for sure. But really, the look of this elevation doesn't seem as compatible to me.
I agree with that. I think the proportions of the one on the left are far preferable.
And at least they reference a New England vernacular form that we're all used to.
right.
You know, what was the pitch of the roof as it exists now on the existing house?
This is a 5 and 12, or 5.5 and 12.
5.5?
This is 7.5.
We kept it as low as we can in keeping with the guidelines on our certificate of
historically
appropriateness.
accurate,
That's what you guys are
yeah.
looking for, 7.5.
That's 7.5?
Yeah,
Looks like a lot more.
no.
It's close to a 90-degree angle at the top.
Not really,
No,
no.
it's a 7.5 pitch.
So we absolutely respected the committee's feedback, and that's the reason for, trying it out. I think in the end, you have to let your eye decide.
Is there somewhere else that you could get the natural light from? I think it's the transom windows that's throwing me, because my eye line brings it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're completely, that's, the transoms are because of the ceiling. You see? I mean, if you,
Be a lot of wall
Set-
there, either way.
Right, if you took the transom out, that gable's
Other
going to get big
windows.
fast.
Yeah,
So,
they're kind
I'm
of,
sorry, what?
What?
If you take the transom out, the gable's going to have a big blank area up there quickly.
Oh.
it's kind of like small eyes on a big face.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, I can see that.
Likewise, another step that we could take, if the horizontal datum lines were still bothersome to you, in that the sill height is a little bit lower than the existing, we could raise that sill height. Again, it kind of moves towards these, smaller eyes and a big face, which is why they are the way they are. But that's a step we could take if those alignments would.
yeah, you should tie in with the existing house.
Yeah, so these this is an oddball here. Those head heights don't match anything. So these are the ones relating to that one and these.
Yep.
And they track around the inside corner.
That's right.
The sill heights are very close to the same right throughout. And I think the sill shows more, where we're putting the historic sill on. I mean, it's a substantial piece of meat there. So you can pick that line up really easily as it comes
Yeah,
across.
Yeah, those we could raise.
It's pretty close now. I mean,
It's
I
only
think
a
from the,
couple inches off.
yeah. that second drawing helps.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
It does.
Because the ridge is substantially higher,
Right.
but that 5 pitch looks awful.
The suggestions make sense, but then when you draw it up, you know, that's when the truth is told.
Now, the drawings that you have there, are they the same as I have here?
I beg your indulgence here. These are the same drawings, except they are shadowed. I felt that the depth would be better with the shadows. I apologize that they're not identical to what you have.
I think some of those do have the shadows, right, Beth?
I think they have the shadows.
Yeah.
They do.
Okay, I'm not sure what was actually submitted.
These have the shadows, it's just that they have green grass.
So in some respects, the dilemma that I see that you faced is that you're designing something which is frankly nicer than the original structure. So, I mean, to ask that the new design be tailored to the
Yeah, two
original
wrongs don't make a
structure
right.
is,
That's, you hit the nail on the head.
And
I
you're-
agree.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I don't agree. I'll tell you, we believe, it's sort of a philosophy, that if you're doing an addition to an existing house, that it should look like it was built that way originally, and that it all goes together. And to slap something on that's a contemporary structure onto an existing house that was built like 50 years ago or something, with a completely different architecture. It's a Cape Cod cottage.
I think that's a stretch, Richard.
Yeah,
I think you're
I'm sorry, I don't think it's completely
exaggerating
different architecture at all. I mean, it's a ranch with a low-pitch roof. I mean, the certificate of appropriateness says a minimum of 7.5 pitch. So that's where we started, just because we wanted to conform to your guidelines. But when you're starting with a ranch with a 5.5 pitch on it, why would you want to keep doing that?
Because it exists. You bought the house to begin with because you liked it. And then you come around and slap on a contemporary building next to it,
Why are you calling that a contemporary building?
because it is. The design of the windows all around are, and
You know, if
They
we
just
had
don't
had
go
more
together.
side yard more side setback, or side yard available, it would have been possible to take this type of an elevation and rotate it into that position and have it be much more in the same family. But being restricted to the 19 feet is one of the things that set that starting proportion this way. Had we been able to go wider, I think we would have been able to replicate those proportions. But with the constraints of the site,
Well,
this would.
it could be my eyes, but looking at it on that drawing,
Yes.
right there, the ridge line there
Yep.
looks flatter than the side of that existing part.
Sorry, this ridge line looks lower than that to you?
Not the height of it,
No.
the pitch.
Oh, the pitch. And it's by necessity because of the width of this new massing.
You've got one building that's 24 foot deep, and you add another building that's 19 feet
This
deep.
is 28, actually.
Excuse me, 28.
And this is 19, so it sort of self-defines the proportions, at least up to, you know, the ridge height is very, you know, it's by choice. But this proportion here is set by the setback and the fact that it wanted to be two-story with living space on the same level as the existing home.
Could you bring that drawing up, please?
Of course, yeah.
This is gonna work. It's steeper. That's the point I was making. This is not the same pitch as this.
If you're giving us a ridge height that we have to get to, and we've got a
Yes.
building width that's fixed, you can't physically match the same pitch. If we're trying to match a building that's 28 feet deep with a 5.5 pitch, with a building that's 19 feet wide.
You know, that's not what I said originally. I suggested that you match the pitches, and we'll see where it comes out. And you said, oh, he wants it to be the same height. And so you made it the same height by flattening it out. That's,
What alternatives you have?
well, the thing is that.
We can't make the
if
building any
you had
wider.
This pitch here, it would go about a foot or a foot and a half higher than the existing house. And on the other hand, this one, this is 1/4 inch scale.
Yes.
It's 3.5 feet, it looks like.
Almost, right.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. As a solar enthusiast, the only thing I see redeeming here is the fact that that design is
It's
more
almost 1,600
appropriate-
feet.
more appropriate for installing panels on the right side of the roof up there.
We've got that big shed in the back.
So the owners talked about, where are we here? Yeah.
Look at the size of the shed in the back of that thing.
Panels along that low slope roof in the back as well.
It'd be better to put them right there,
Yeah.
so that they're pointing south
Closer to the south, yeah.
and they're halfway decent pitch.
Yeah.
The others are a waste of money. You get about 50, almost 50% less efficiency there.
Okay.
However, that would mean cutting more trees down too,
On this west,
in
on
order
the
to
south
get,
side, yeah,
in order to give you light.
which would be privacy.
Yeah. So you're proposing no grills and any windows?
There's no grills in the existing house.
That's not because it was built that way originally, that's because somebody took the grills out and destroyed them.
Actually,
They're Anderson windows, and they have those plastic caps for inserts. They're there in all of the windows, so they haven't been perforated or removed to put grills in, unless someone came along before me and reinserted those plastic holes that hold the grills, you know, the internal snapping grills. So they were never there when we first got the house, nor was it look like they were there.
if it would make you feel better, if you think it would help the design, we'd be perfectly happy putting
Yeah.
grills in.
Yeah, I mean, you drive up and down that street and other neighboring streets, and they have grills,
Well,
because we.
the house across the street
it's
on either side doesn't have any grills. I did that myself. I live on that street. And the road is, the houses on that street there's a wide variety of houses on that street, from ranches to colonials. I have a Victorian on that street.
Mhm.
There used to be an A-frame not long ago. I like that about it. In my opinion, this fits. I don't know if, I mean,
It looks
I like the
naked.
pitch.
When you drive by, it looks naked.
it's asking for something, I agree, yes.
I mean, the first house on the street is,
Well, we can't go, let's
terrible.
not talk about that house, okay? That house has been that way for 25, it's not changing, that's the way it's staying.
and people come to us all the time saying, can't you do something about this house?
You can't, because everybody has tried to do something about it.
We write that one off, and then as you go down, they all have a Cape Cod
Most of
flavor
them,
to
yeah.
them, and they have different designs, and that's the nice thing about the way the Old Kings Highway allows for things like a Victorian house interspersed with some Cape ranches and some capes with dormers in the front or back, et cetera. It's a mix, and then so it keeps life interesting. But this really needs some help up front with grills and windows.
Would you put the government without grills, the picture, or grills there as well?
The picture window on the side flanking windows should have them definitely.
Just as a suggestion, something I like, is I like 6/1. I think that would look nice on that house. If you did the top
Yeah.
grill all the way across, you could do 6/1 on those windows on the gable,
Right.
and then you could have the transoms pick that up. That's always a nice look, as the grill goes right through the transom.
Troy, are you talking about, so top
Yes.
of the double hungs,
Precisely.
and here, and here? Okay.
Yeah, not just the transom.
No, the upper sash on all the windows.
Right. Yeah, that would go a long
And
way.
here as well? All the
Yep.
way around?
Yeah, that might marry the look
Mhm.
more for me.
Okay.
I mean, I like the addition, it's just very disparate from the original property. That's this,
I think the grills would do a lot to tie it
That would
in.
tie it together.
Right.
I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah. I thought you would come in today and tell me about another house on this street, which has an addition, not an awful lot different than this, which was a gable similarly shaped, which is also higher than the house.
I figured you'd see it when you went over there.
It's further forward.
You know what, I like that in the neighborhood. I like the fact it's all different. There's a split level, which I hate split levels, but it goes nice in the neighborhood with all the different designs there.
Yeah.
It's an eclectic neighborhood.
It is. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that other addition was done just a few years ago. I remember
Yeah, and
I spotted it.
they
as-
just threw that thing on there.
Well, it looks nice.
Oh, I thought you were talking about on the back of this.
No, the one down.
Oh,
the
I'm
street.
sorry.
One down the street. I think the guy was a builder too. He owned the house and he came to us to put the addition on, and we checked it out. Looked like it would work. Looks good.
motion to accept the plans as modified with grills in the window.
Yep.
Second.
Second.
And keep the transom.
Keep the transoms, but carry the grill through the transom. 6/1
Hold on.
with the transom, I don't know how you say it.
Right.
Yep, no,
Basically,
it's the one
six
grill.
ones. So we'll
So
add
that's the only
that
change,
as
is
an
putting grills
addendum.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, good.
Do you require resubmission
what we're-
drawings
what we're
with those
specifying.
grills
Oh, they
showing?
could
Not the
note it on
grills. They'll just
Oh,
write it
they
up
don't-
as
they
an
don't note it?
amendment,
You
yeah.
note it? Okay,
If it's just the grills, we don't.
okay.
And we have to vote on it.
Yes. So with this addition remark, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's going to take me a minute here.
That's it.
Okay, so what are we actually doing here?
We're going to do 6/1 windows, basically.
Add
6/1.
grills to the windows across the front and side.
All windows.
Yep.
On front
Not the rear,
elevation,
No,
right?
And the sides.
he's on it.
And side elevations?
Yeah, the back will be, grills.
Okay. Okay. Side elevations.
The lighting issues you had, when you put this new building beside the building, you'll be able to put the lights facing towards the street, the light is dark, so it'll be pointed towards you at all. I don't like that, so, I don't like it, I mean, my backyard is just nice and dark and
Well,
filled.
that's usually what it is.
Yeah, no, he's good guy. But we'll take them off that gable and put them to the street facing gable. Just drive will get more light.
So we'll need your signature on these two documents. This is for the demolition, right? Says that you're going to do it as planned. And likewise here, which has these additional comments on the grills. It's hard to read his handwriting, but
Mine
not too
too, so I
bad
really
tonight.
have those. It says on front and side.
Front and
This is
sides.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the penmanship.
It'll look very nice.
Yeah, well,
Troy,
Yes.
Troy,
Thank you.
you need to sign one more.
you have to sign the yellow one. Great, thank you. Okay,
Richard, thank you.
okay. Fun.
You outside.
You're good.
Thank you.
How about this? When was the last time you guys had one applicant? Have you ever had?
We usually cancel a meeting if it's only one.
Well, listen, I appreciate you doing that. I've never been to one meeting where it wasn't full.
Right,
I'm almost 12. You guys have a nice night.
good, thank you.
I'll take it.
Good luck. Looks nice.
Good night.
Okay. Right. Straighten that out. You can take
You're so
care of that.
welcome. You're very nice. Bye. Thank you. You too.
Okay, let's see. Get these together. Anyone sign that? Here's one or two here. That's it. That one is attached. It's this one. Okay. There's, I'll give you one piece of information. Jim Wilson called me today. We're getting an appeal coming from Dennis. And it's kind of an interesting one. I don't know if you remember the Smuggler's Ice Cream Parlor.
Right.
They-
Creamery now, right?
No, well, yeah, the building that was Smugglers is now Cape Cod. And Smugglers moved to one in Dennis, where there used to be a bank on the corner of 134.
Yeah,
6A.
on 6A, right, yeah.
I guess they wanted to put up a larger sign than was authorized in the act. And so their appeal, because Dennis rejected it. So I'll be looking at that July 16th. That's the only thing new that I have.
I don't have anything.
Anybody else with comments?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So,